Have you ever caught yourself having full-blown conversations with, well, yourself? And I'm not talking about those quick, where did I put my keys moments. I mean those deep, meaningful discussions where you're working through problems, exploring ideas, or even arguing with yourself about life decisions. If you're nodding along right now, chances are you might be an INFJ. And trust me, you're not alone in this seemingly strange habit. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most misunderstood aspects of the INFJ personality type. We're going to uncover why INFJs have this intense relationship with internal dialogue, what it really means for their mental processing, and why this behavior is actually a superpower in disguise. 1. The INFJ mind, a complex internal universe. Let's start with the basics here. INFJs, also known as the advocates or the counselors, make up only about 1 to 2% of the population. They're known for their deep empathy, complex inner worlds, and that mysterious quality that makes people say, I can't quite figure you out. But here's what most people don't realize. The INFJ brain is like a bustling city that never sleeps. There's constant activity, processing, and yes, conversation happening up there. When an INFJ talks to themselves, they're not just thinking out loud. They're engaging with their incredibly rich internal landscape. Think of it this way. While some people have a simple internal monologue, INFJs have what I like to call an internal symposium. There are multiple perspectives being considered, different voices weighing in on decisions, and a constant flow of ideas bouncing around. It's no wonder they need to verbalize some of this chaos to make sense of it all. The INFJ cognitive stack plays a huge role here. Their dominant function, introverted intuition, an I, is constantly making connections, seeing patterns, and generating insights. But an I works in mysterious ways. It's not linear or logical. It's more like a web of interconnected thoughts and ideas. When INFJs talk to themselves, they're often trying to translate these abstract insights into something more concrete and understandable. 2. Breaking down the self-talk stigma. Before we go further, let's address the elephant in the room. Talking to yourself has gotten a bad rap in society. People often associate it with mental illness, loneliness, or just plain weirdness. But here's the truth that psychology has been telling us for years. Self-talk is not only normal, it's actually beneficial for cognitive functioning. Research shows that people who engage in self-talk perform better on tasks, have improved focus, and can regulate their emotions more effectively. For INFJs who already have complex internal processes, self-talk becomes an essential tool for mental organization and clarity. The stigma around self-talk often comes from misunderstanding. When people see someone talking to themselves, they might assume that person is disconnected from reality. But for INFJs, it's quite the opposite. They're deeply connected to their inner reality and are using verbalization as a bridge to the external world. Many famous INFJs throughout history have been known for their internal dialogues. Writers, philosophers, and innovators often describe having conversations with themselves as part of their creative and problem-solving process. It's not a sign of instability. It's a sign of a rich, active mind that's working through complex ideas. 3. The science behind INFJ self-talk. Let's get a bit nerdy for a moment and look at what's actually happening in the brain when INFJs talk to themselves. The human brain has different areas responsible for language processing, and when we engage in self-talk, multiple regions light up simultaneously. For INFJs who are naturally introspective and analytical, self-talk activates the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for executive functions like planning, decision-making, and problem-solving. It also engages the language centers of the brain, which helps organize chaotic thoughts into coherent ideas. But here's where it gets interesting for INFJs specifically. Their brains are wired differently than other personality types. They have stronger connections between different brain regions, which means their thoughts are more interconnected and complex. Self-talk helps them navigate this web of connections and extract meaningful insights. There's also something called private speech in psychology, which is exactly what we're talking about. It's speech directed toward oneself rather than others, and it serves several functions: self-regulation, problem-solving, and cognitive organization. For INFJs who process information deeply and consider multiple perspectives, Private speech becomes a crucial tool for mental clarity. Studies have shown that people who engage in self-talk show increased activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, which is involved in attention and emotion regulation. This is particularly relevant for INFJs, who are highly sensitive to their environment and need effective ways to process emotional information. 4. Different types of INFJ self-talk. Not all self-talk is created equal, and INFJs tend to engage in several distinct types of internal dialogue. Understanding these different categories can help INFJs recognize their patterns and use them more effectively. Problem-solving conversations. This is probably the most common type of INFJ self-talk. When faced with a complex problem or decision, INFJs will often verbalize different options, weigh pros and cons, and work through scenarios out loud. They might say things like, "Okay, if I choose option A, then this might happen, but if I go with option B." This type of self-talk helps them externalize their internal decision-making process. Emotional processing dialogues. INFJs are deeply feeling individuals, and they often need to talk through their emotions to understand them fully. You might hear an INFJ saying, "I'm feeling really frustrated right now, but I think it's actually because..." This helps them identify the root causes of their feelings and develop strategies for handling them. Reflective monologues. After social interactions or significant events, INFJs often replay and analyze what happened. They might say, "That conversation went well, but I noticed when they said X, I felt Y." This type of self-talk helps them process experiences and extract lessons for the future. Creative brainstorming. Many INFJs are creative individuals, and they use self-talk as a way to explore ideas and possibilities. They might verbally brainstorm plot ideas for a story, work through a design problem, or explore philosophical concepts. This type of dialogue helps them tap into their creative intuition. Values clarification. INFJs have strong personal values, and they sometimes need to talk through situations to determine what aligns with their moral compass. They might say, "This doesn't feel right because it goes against my belief that..." This helps them stay true to their authentic selves. 5. The hidden benefits of INFJ self-talk. While some people might see self-talk as a quirky habit, it actually provides numerous benefits specifically for the INFJ personality type. Let's explore why this behavior is actually a superpower in disguise. Enhanced self-awareness. When INFJs verbalize their thoughts, they become more aware of their mental patterns, biases, and tendencies. This increased self-awareness allows them to make more conscious choices and develop greater emotional intelligence. Improved problem-solving. By externalizing their internal dialogue, INFJs can approach problems from multiple angles and consider solutions they might not have thought of otherwise. The act of speaking helps organize chaotic thoughts into logical sequences. Emotional regulation. Self-talk allows INFJs to name and process their emotions, which is the first step in managing them effectively. When they can say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed because of X, Y, and Z," they can begin to address each issue systematically. Stress relief. For INFJs, who tend to internalize stress and worry, self-talk provides an outlet for releasing mental pressure. It's like having a pressure valve for their busy minds. Creative enhancement. Many INFJs report that their best ideas come during self-talk sessions. The act of verbalizing thoughts seems to unlock creative connections and insights that might otherwise remain hidden. Decision-making clarity. By talking through decisions out loud, INFJs can weigh options more objectively and avoid getting stuck in analysis paralysis. They can literally hear themselves working through the logic, which helps them move forward with confidence. 6. When INFJ self-talk becomes problematic. While self-talk is generally beneficial for INFJs, there are times when it can become counterproductive or even harmful. It's important to recognize these patterns and address them when they arise. Negative self-talk spirals. Sometimes INFJ self-talk can turn into harsh self-criticism or catastrophic thinking. When the internal dialogue becomes predominantly negative, it can reinforce anxiety, depression, or low self-esteem. INFJs need to be aware of this tendency and actively work to reframe negative thoughts. Overthinking loops. INFJs can get caught in cycles where they talk through the same problem over and over without reaching a resolution. This can lead to mental exhaustion and increased stress rather than clarity. Social anxiety rehearsals. Some INFJs engage in excessive self-talk about future social interactions, rehearsing conversations that may never happen or worrying about how others will perceive them. This can actually increase social anxiety rather than reduce it. Analysis paralysis. When INFJs talk through every possible option and outcome, they can become paralyzed by the complexity of their analysis. Sometimes the best action is to make a decision and move forward, even without perfect information. Isolation tendencies. If INFJs rely too heavily on self-talk and internal processing, they might avoid seeking input from others or sharing their thoughts with trusted friends and family. This can lead to isolation and missed opportunities for connection and support. 7. The role of introverted intuition in self-talk. To truly understand why INFJs talk to themselves, we need to dive deeper into their dominant cognitive function, introverted intuition, NI. This function is often misunderstood, but it's the key to unlocking the mystery of INFJ self-talk. Introverted intuition works like a background processor, constantly taking in information and looking for patterns, connections, and insights. It's not a conscious process. It happens automatically and often produces sudden aha moments or gut feelings about situations. But here's the challenge. NI insights often come in the form of abstract concepts, images, or feelings rather than clear, logical thoughts. When an INFJ has an intuitive insight, they might feel strongly that something is true or important, but they can't immediately explain why or how they know it. This is where self-talk becomes crucial. INFJs use verbal processing to translate their intuitive insights into concrete language and logical explanations. They're essentially serving as translators between their abstract inner knowing and the practical external world. You might hear an INFJ saying something like, "I have this feeling that this project isn't going to work out, but let me think about why." They're using self-talk to explore and validate their intuitive hunches, turning gut feelings into actionable insights. This process is essential for INFJs because it allows them to trust and act on their intuition while also being able to explain their reasoning to others. Without this translation process, their insights might remain trapped in the abstract realm of an I, unable to be applied practically. 8. How INFJs can optimize their self-talk. Since self-talk is such a natural and beneficial process for INFJs, the goal isn't to eliminate it but to optimize it. Here are some strategies for making the most of this cognitive tool. Create dedicated thinking time. Instead of letting self-talk happen randomly throughout the day, INFJs can benefit from setting aside specific times for internal dialogue. This might be during a morning walk, evening reflection, or dedicated problem-solving sessions. Use structured approaches. Rather than letting thoughts wander aimlessly, INFJs can use frameworks to guide their self-talk. For example, they might work through problems using a pros and cons format or use questions like, "What would I advise a friend in this situation?" Practice positive self-talk. INFJs should consciously work to make their internal dialogue more supportive and encouraging. Instead of saying, "I always mess things up," they might say, "I made a mistake, but I can learn from this and do better next time." Balance internal and external processing. While self-talk is valuable, INFJs should also make sure they're not relying on it exclusively. Regular conversations with trusted friends, family members, or therapists can provide external perspectives and prevent overthinking loops. Use physical movement. Many INFJs find that their self-talk is most productive when combined with physical activity. Walking, pacing, or even light exercise can help stimulate creative thinking and problem-solving. Record important insights. Since INFJ self-talk often produces valuable insights, it can be helpful to write down key realizations or decisions. This prevents important thoughts from getting lost in the mental shuffle. 9. The relationship between self-talk and creativity. For many INFJs, self-talk isn't just a problem-solving tool. It's also a gateway to creativity. The connection between internal dialogue and creative expression is particularly strong for this personality type. When INFJs engage in self-talk, they're often exploring possibilities, making unexpected connections, and allowing their imagination to run free. This verbal exploration helps them access ideas that might not emerge through silent contemplation alone. Many INFJ writers, artists, and creators report that their best work comes from conversations they have with themselves about their projects. They might talk through character motivations, explore different artistic approaches, or verbally brainstorm solutions to creative challenges. The key is that self-talk allows INFJs to play with ideas in a low-pressure environment. There's no judgment, no need to be perfect, and no risk of criticism. This freedom allows their natural creativity to flourish and can lead to breakthrough moments. INFJs who want to enhance their creativity through self-talk can try techniques like free-form verbal brainstorming, talking through what-if scenarios, or having imaginary conversations with people they admire or want to understand better. 10. Managing self-talk in different environments. One challenge many INFJs face is managing their self-talk habit in different social and professional environments. While internal dialogue is natural and beneficial for them, it's not always appropriate or practical to engage in visible self-talk. In professional settings, INFJs can learn to internalize more of their self-talk during work hours, saving the verbal processing for breaks, lunch hours, or after work. They can also use written self-dialogue, jotting down thoughts and questions to explore later. In social situations, during social interactions, INFJs might need to suppress their natural tendency to verbally process in real time. They can make mental notes of things they want to think through later and schedule dedicated reflection time after social events. At home, INFJs should feel free to engage in self-talk in their personal spaces, but they might want to communicate with family members or roommates about this habit to avoid misunderstandings. In public, for INFJs who naturally talk to themselves in public, using strategies like pretending to be on a phone call with a hands-free device or speaking very quietly can help them process thoughts without attracting unwanted attention. The key is finding a balance that allows INFJs to benefit from their natural self-talk tendency while being mindful of social contexts and other people's comfort levels. 11. Self-talk as a tool for personal growth. For INFJs, self-talk isn't just about solving immediate problems or processing current emotions. It's also a powerful tool for personal development and growth. Through internal dialogue, INFJs can explore their values, goals, and aspirations in deep and meaningful ways. Values exploration. INFJs can use self-talk to examine their core values and ensure their actions align with their beliefs. They might ask themselves questions like, what's really important to me in this situation? Or, how does this decision reflect my values? Goal setting and planning. Through verbal processing, INFJs can explore their long-term goals, break them down into manageable steps, and create action plans. They might say something like, I want to achieve X, so what steps do I need to take to get there? Self-compassion development. INFJs can use self-talk to practice being kinder to themselves, challenging negative self-beliefs, and developing a more compassionate internal voice. This is particularly important for INFJs who tend to be their own harshest critics. Identity exploration. As naturally introspective individuals, INFJs can use self-talk to explore questions of identity and purpose. They might verbally work through questions like, who am I becoming? Or what kind of impact do I want to have on the world? Learning integration. After reading, studying, or experiencing something new, INFJs can use self-talk to integrate new information with their existing knowledge and beliefs. This helps them create coherent worldviews and personal philosophies. 12. The connection between self-talk and empathy. One of the most fascinating aspects of INFJ self-talk is how it relates to their exceptional empathetic abilities. INFJs often use internal dialogue to understand others better and to process the emotional information they absorb from their environment. Perspective taking. INFJs might engage in self-talk where they verbally explore different perspectives on a situation. They might say something like, if I were in their shoes, I might feel. Or looking at this from their perspective, maybe they. Emotional processing. After interacting with others, INFJs often need to talk through the emotions they've absorbed. They might say, I'm feeling really heavy after that conversation, and I think it's because I picked up on their sadness. Boundary setting. Self-talk helps INFJs distinguish between their own emotions and those they've absorbed from others. They might verbally work through questions like, is this feeling mine? Or did I pick it up from someone else? Empathy regulation. INFJs can use self-talk to manage their empathetic responses and prevent emotional overload. They might remind themselves of coping strategies or talk through ways to support others without sacrificing their own well-being. This connection between self-talk and empathy highlights why internal dialogue is so crucial for INFJs. It helps them navigate their complex emotional landscape and maintain healthy relationships with others. 13. Technology and modern INFJ self-talk. In our digital age, the way INFJs engage in self-talk has evolved along with technology. Many INFJs have found creative ways to use modern tools to enhance their internal dialogue and processing. Voice recording apps. Some INFJs use their smartphones to record their thoughts and self-talk sessions, allowing them to capture insights and review them later. This can be particularly helpful for processing complex decisions or working through creative projects. Digital journaling. While not exactly self-talk, many INFJs use digital journaling apps to engage in written internal dialogue. They might type out conversations with themselves, exploring problems and solutions in a format that feels similar to verbal processing. AI conversation partners. Some INFJs have found that talking to AI assistants or chatbots can provide a safe space for verbal processing without the social pressures of human interaction. These tools can serve as non-judgmental listening partners for working through thoughts and ideas. Podcast-style processing. Some INFJs create private audio recordings in a podcast format, speaking their thoughts aloud as if they're hosting their own personal show. This can make self-talk feel more structured and purposeful. While these technological tools can be helpful, it's important for INFJs to maintain their natural self-talk abilities and not become overly dependent on external aids for processing their thoughts and emotions. Conclusion. So there you have it, the mystery of INFJ self-talk finally unraveled. What we've discovered is that this seemingly quirky habit is actually a sophisticated cognitive tool that serves multiple important functions for the INFJ personality type. From organizing complex thoughts to processing emotions, from enhancing creativity to supporting personal growth, self-talk is an integral part of how INFJs navigate their rich inner worlds and complex external relationships. It's not a sign of oddness or instability. It's a natural expression of a thoughtful, introspective mind that's constantly working to understand and improve the world around it. For INFJs watching this, I hope you now feel validated in your self-talk habits and understand why they're not only normal but actually beneficial. You're not weird for having conversations with yourself. You're engaging in a sophisticated form of cognitive processing that helps you make sense of your complex inner world. Remember, the key is balance. Embrace your natural tendency towards self-talk, but also be mindful of when it becomes counterproductive. Use the strategies we've discussed to optimize your internal dialogue and make it work for you rather than against you. For non-INFJs who might be watching, I hope this has given you insight into the INFJ experience and helped you understand why the INFJs in your life might sometimes seem lost in thought or caught up in internal conversations. Rather than seeing it as antisocial or strange, recognize it for what it is, a natural and necessary part of how they process the world. The next time you catch yourself or an INFJ friend talking through a problem out loud, remember that you're witnessing something beautiful, a mind that cares deeply about understanding, growth, and making meaningful connections between ideas and experiences. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the INFJ mind. If you found this helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more personality type content. And hey, leave a comment below. Do you talk to yourself? What does your internal dialogue sound like? I'd love to hear from fellow self-talkers in the comments. Until next time, keep thinking, keep growing, and yes, keep talking to yourselves. Your minds are fascinating places, and they deserve all the internal conversation they need to thrive.